Alright, I've cleaned up some parts off the sprue for the cockpit. So what I have here is the first 11 steps. So it's basically the seat, the bulkhead the seat attaches to, and the floor section with a couple of bulkheads in the bottom there. So with this, I'll be using Quinta Studio set. I've become a real fan of this style of upgrade, just for the sheer details they provide. There is no way on earth you can replicate that. Even the cushion to the back of the seat, they've done fading to it. Just stunning. And the harnesses there. However, if you do not wish to, the only back or negative side to them for me is the price. They're not bloody cheap, but this is 1/24 scale, so it's everything's going to be in your face, so you need to make it look good. But there are actual injection molded harnesses in the kit which I think look alright, except you will have, because it's injection molded, it's limited to the thickness, so they're probably out of scale thickness wise, but I think they would do alright. And if you were to do the decals for the cockpit, so let's see, that's in there. I'm going to bring it up close here because along the bottom here you'll see it's all individual decals, so which is not a problem, just it takes longer obviously, and if you put them into your recesses of the instrument panel, let me grab one. I've not got it out yet, there's several too, so I'm not going to say this is the one I need, because there's another sprue with some on. But you put your decals over them and they'll sink down with your setting solution, and then you can put clear varnish on top, and that will give you a glass effect if you just want to use the decals, which would also, they all look alright, but I just don't think you can beat that. That's just stunning. So yeah, so now I've cleaned that up, because the seat has the cushion molded in. I'm going to have to remove that. Just grabbing what I'll be using. So I've got a little USB charger, Dremel. It's got lower revolutions than an actual Dremel. I've got a Dremel, and it, if I use that on here, it'll just melt the plastic. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you get the gist of what I'm doing. So I just got to get rid of that raised detail, so that that cushion will replace the kit detail. And again, that's not too bad a detail, but that's way better. So I'll finish cleaning that up, It's easier to work with it as a single part, and then I'll glue it all together and then start the painting process of the interior. Alright, seat bulkhead all together. You can see where I've sanded that down. Once that 3D decal goes there, you won't see the scratches and that. It's ready for painting. Floor, I've installed those parts. It's ready to paint. Started the right side of the cockpit wall. You can see there's a few parts gone here. This one here, that box with the piping, and up here that had detail removed, ready for a 3D decal. I've got tweezers pinching that because that piping is all warped, and it wouldn't. This piece was like bent down on an angle, so I cut it. I just snipped it off there where it joins the box, glued that in, let it set, glued this on, and then I've twisted the plastic back and glued it to where it was originally. I'm just keeping it there to let it set properly. Yeah, it's a bit warped on the tubing section. Alright, so this is a instrument panel bulkhead. I've glued in parts required here. Clear part will need to go on there, but I'll do that after it's painted. Alright, now the kit calls for this piece to go in here, but Quinta are telling you to use so there's instrument panel there, so this part's a D19 and they're saying X14. This is X14 and this is what the instructions call for. From what I can see, it's pretty much the same, and it doesn't matter anyway because I've got to remove the details. I'm going to use the clear one because it's got less raised detail. This one you can see has got all these switches and that are a lot higher than what's on here. So just for ease, I'm going to use this one. And as mentioned, it doesn't matter what bezels and that are on there because you won't see it. That'll go in there, and then our 3D decal will go on top. So I shall do it that way. This will also come in later. So this with the cable loom that attaches to, pushes in there, but the bottom of the cable loom plugs into the floor over here. It doesn't want to sit there, of course, but in there, and then that plugs into the sidewall. So I'll paint that separate and glue it in when I start getting it all together. So I'll probably have a look at the other side wall. It's got quite a lot going on as well. I'll probably start putting some of that on as well and just paint it all at the same time, the interior green. Alrighty, I've sub-assembled everything in the cockpit section up to step 31 in the instructions, but when I start to go to the, grab it, the fuselage halves, there'll be some more pieces that need to go on here, and a couple of them that go on here will also require the 3D decals. But for now I'm just going to do this. Only issue I had was what I mentioned, was that cable or the pipe work, which was warped, and not an issue, but the oxygen tanks are two halves, so glue them, wait for the glue to dry, and then fill in the gaps I had in the seam join. I think so. Sanded the panel down, glued it on, put the control column together. So there's three parts. There's a tiny that little lever on the top, whatever purpose it serves, I'm not sure. And I don't know if it's like a trigger guard or what. Anyway, that's a tiny little part, and then you got two pieces that go together on the column. Footwell bulkhead, which that will sit in there, and the instrument panel is back here, so it sort of just pushes up against that like that. I've glued these parts together. I'll have to readjust. So we got the cockpit, the seat sits there, and you have these two little rear bulkheads, so that'll have to go in there like that. That's a rough fit, obviously, but so from here, so basically here back is aluminium, there forward is the interior green. So I'm going to grab my little magnet base and start putting these pieces on, take it over to the paint booth and lay down some. I'm going to use black primer. Always do black in the cockpit, that way when you got areas like this, should you miss something with paint, the black, it just creates shadows. So I'll settle that up and lay down some primer. Alright, so all my parts are primed. I've used Mr. Hobby's Mr. Finishing Surfacer 1500 black. I've said about this before, I like it. It gives a really nice smooth finish. You need to thin it heavily though, because it's not really made for airbrushing, so I'm thinning it probably at least 70% thinners to the paint. Royal Air Force Cockpit Grey Green is the colour I'm using. These aircraft, it's a RAAF Australian aircraft, but it would have been, I believe they'd come from Britain and they've just used them and painted their scheme on them. Alright, so I'm loaded up again. I'm thinning probably around 70% thinner to paint. I'll just show you the one panel. Everything else is going to get the same treatment. Alright, that's pretty much it. Some areas are different colours. I'll be probably brush painting in those sections so that I know that pipe work is a different colour. Anything else that's small, I'll just brush paint it in later on. For now, I'm just doing the interior green colour. So that's how I go about it. You see, when I paint, I mottle and build it up gradually. Darker areas coming through is, to me, just an easier way of weathering with your paint, suggesting worn or shadows, things like that. Right. So as mentioned, the back or the rear is aluminium. I'm going to use a dark aluminium, so it's AK Extreme Metal. I use that neat. So this time you want good coverage because it's a metal with no paint on it. So leave that before I get overspray on it. Set them out the way. All right. That. And there you go. Don't worry about the. You can see I've got paint in that groove. The bulkhead sits in there, so you're not going to see it. So it doesn't matter what colour's in there. Why did I use that rather than normal aluminium? It's like I said, it's a bit duller. Aluminium in this brand is very bright. It's not showing up well there, but it's a lot brighter than that. I want it a bit duller, a bit suggests it's a bit older, it's not brand new. So that's now that part's ready, where I've got to hand paint in the other colours.